Hello, welcome to this analysis with Bitcoin Gorilla. Today, altcoin daily coin is not any other coin but what IOTEX coin, now also known as IOTX USDT. Today, we'll be working with the weekly chart on Binance. Now, a brief overview of what IOTEX is. IOTEX, according to CoinMarketCap, is it has one of the top blockchain, right? This blockchain helps Internet of Things connect with humans, right? So it helps human connect with machine, an open ecosystem where people and machine can interact with guaranteed trust, free will, and other properly designed economic incentives. Now, this whole company has a token behind their whole development, and it's called what? The IOTX. Now, this IOTX, since the time of listing till now, made an all-time high of 0.26. That was what? A month ago. That was around November. It made it an all-time high of what? 0.26. Now, since the time of listing, which was 2 years ago, the last low it has ever gotten to is 0.001239. Now, this information is good because we're going to be looking at the whole entire price movement of this coin since being listed on Binance, right? So I'm using Binance chart, but trust me, you can draw your chart on any exchange that you are trading. So always make sure you are using the right chart for your exchange. So the first thing I want to do is what? Find the support and resistance. As usual, I use my strategy by getting the most important levels on the chart using my horizontal line. So horizontal line will get me the point of rejection and reversals, right? Now remember, if you do find this video quite interesting and my analysis, my style interesting, you give me a thumbs up to encourage me, and not just that, to help us reach more people. It's a new channel and we just want to reach as many people as possible. Don't worry, nobody's going to see your likes, so don't worry about it imparting on anyone. So this is why we turn off our likes. We want it to be natural that you give us this like out of your own will of liking our style. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is what? Get my support and resistance box. Right. This is my box according to Bitcoin Gorilla. You know my strategy about the box strategy. If you want to learn more about this strategy, you can come to Makaveli Trader and join us and get trained. Now, no hidden fees. We don't do monthly charges. We don't do yearly charges. It's just one-time payment, and you're going to trade with me for a lifetime. You using this strategy that I am using for all my analysis. So you just pay attention and see how this strategy works, right? So the first thing I want to do is get the support area of this my box, right? This is my biggest box right here. So, and I can see that the support area is between here. I need to put this a little down, okay? So this is the support area, and I can change that to pink. So the next thing I want to get is the resistance of the box. You might ask me, what does all this do? Now, this helps me know every resistance is a point where the rejection happened. You can see this is my area of rejection, and every support is the area where price bounces from. This is where it falls from. This is where what it bounces from. That's the pure definition of simple definition of support and resistance, right? Support is a point where price stop going down and find a way of turning back to start going back up, right? Resistance are points where price gets to and get rejected, and something, an invisible obstacle, just seems to push it down and it starts selling off unnecessarily. You can't even explain, right? Now, this point I've taken my box to actually map them out. So, but I can still see that there are other actions that are taking place that I can still use my box strategy to contain, right? I can tell you an example of it is right here. Yes, right here. And I can tell you so this is the weekly chart, mind you. I want to change the color of this box to blue. to help me differentiate them in order so that when I'm calling the box, you can understand. Now, this big box I draw is a box that I intend to use mostly to explain what is happening on the daily chart, right? So if I look at the box, you can see the daily chart. After zooming into the daily chart, you can see it's I needed to extend the box, right? So and I can get the support and resistance area of this box as well. Let me change that color to probably red as well. Okay, let's get the support area. I'm going to zoom in. You're going to see why I did that. So this is what the chart is now looking at when we zoom in. This is what our chart looks like. And I see from this chart that I can easily get a bias or trend line, right? So I'm going to pick my trend line and see what I can get with the bias trend line. I can see obviously we have a trend line with. So when drawing my trend line, what am I looking at? I'm looking at a point where price at least touch this line twice, minimum of two touches. It's more even beautiful when it's three touching, but minimum of two touches. So you can see we have two touches perfectly, and there is still a gap between this point and this point where price is right now. So even though price returned here, price has not gotten to this point. So let's take note of that gap. So let's take note of that gap. So what if can I get a seller's line? I think we should give it a try. Let's see what the seller's line look like. Obviously, it looks like an expanding channel here. It's looking more like an expanding channel for me. Trying to get as much as two touches. I think we could get something like this, but it was entirely broken, right? Yes, I see an entirely broken channel, right? I can tell you a channel was completely pierced, right? This is it. This is another touch, this is another touch, and this, and you can see they completely pierce it, but which turned out to be what a fake out, right? This here is a fake out because if it's not a fake out, how come price entire return all the way down and almost about to touch the bottom of the channel? So that's a fake out. That's a bias hunt, right? A faker. And if you look at our box, we would have seen that the possibility of price getting to that point. The reason being that we have this our bigger box, and you can see that already from here we would have seen a breakout. Let's say we don't have this price getting to this point because if price was still here, or let's say price was still here, let's say before price broke the channel, right? If price was still here, how would I have drawn my box over here if price was still here? You would tell me that I wouldn't have known. So let's use the replay, right? So I want to replay it from here. So you can see if price was still here, how then would I have extended my box to here? Because if I take it to weekly chart, I wouldn't have been able to see anything to extend my box, right? So you ask me, if price was still here, how would I know that price will break the box? Okay, here's the thing. According to my box, right? When price breaks this point, when price breaks any resistance and goes above it, remember the resistance is an area. The resistance is an area, and the area has already been extended, right? The area extended from this point to this point. So once price comes to break this point, I am skeptical about shorting now. I want to short, but I want to wait for price to get to this point. So if I'm shorting, or maybe I'm a seller at this point, when I see price gets to this point, now I become very when once price gets into this point, my thought changes, right? My perception changes. What is now my perception? My perception is there are two things that can happen in this scenario. So what are the two things that price gets rejected while in this zone? So I will be watching out from probably 4 hours. Let's go 4 hours. Let's go to 4 hours. So if I use my replay and I want to put it here. So let's say here. This is daily. I can't use intraday. So let's say here. Look at this. You can see just one candle in a day, and my analysis are always higher time frame. I don't even. My analysis are always daily, weekly, and monthly chart. Right, that's what I work with. So on this day, I know that within the week, I have seen one day that has broken this resistance. That same day, it went through it. On the minute I see this candle leaving this point, I know it's done. I am not going to sell. Chances of it getting to this, um, clearing this is now high. Why? Because there's no meeting point. There's no meeting point at this point. There's no meeting point. There's no meeting point at this point, right? There's no meeting point at this point. So chances of it getting cleared is very, very high. So once I have to wait and see what that day candle closes, and you can see that day candle closes right inside another box, which would have inspired me to draw to know that yes, we have a bigger box developing, and I can draw another box. Now, if you look, if you look, if you look closely now this is our current price. Now you can see that price has chances of getting to this point at this point where we are. At this point where we are, what are the chances of price moving? Just what we did is review old prices to compare it to what is going to happen to new prices, right? So we see that this gap is likely either going to, because right now I'm seeing a mini support here. There's a mini support, and this support is in an intraday support, a lower time frame, probably maybe 1 hour, 4 hours. Look at it. This is it. You can see the reaction here. You can see the reaction here, and currently there's a reaction here, right? But just not far, there's a resistance, there's a resistance. So the chances of the upside is likely going to take a little deep down dive, right? What it's going to do is clear the stop loss of those who are here and those who are here. So that little bear move is not going to be more than probably 0.08. It's currently at 0.12. 0.12 to 0.08 is not far. Now, if they keep pushing harder, there is chances of it entering the entire support. Remember, when it gets to this point, it has only gotten to the support. It has not entered the entire support, right? The entire support is here. This is where the bigger point is, right? This is where the bigger point is in terms of support. And I can tell you that this point where you are seeing now, this point, this point where you are seeing shows that if we are to draw a another trend line, let's say we try to take this trend line to higher time frame, probably weekly chart. Let's see if weekly chart can give us another trend line. Now using this point, right? Now remember, this is the worst case scenario. We're using worst case scenario. What can happen if the price were to keep falling? So we have one touch here and another touch here. It means there's a chance of price getting to this point. This is the support. Remember, this is support area. We're doing this area as support area. So worst case scenario is we see this price falling toward 0.02, and I don't see that happening that soon in 2022. I do see price really, let's say we have a dump, it goes to 0.052 area or 0.4 area. Now, the reason being that, let's go back to daily chart. Now, I understand that this position where price is hanging right now is neither a strong support for it. It's not a strong support, though it is trying to develop an intraday 4 hours bias line, right? Let's look closely. Let's make this chart a little neater. Not a trend line. So we can see an intraday, we can actually get an intraday trend line that they are trying to develop right here. That is what they are trying to maintain. But I tell you, this intraday um, trend line is likely going to break. It's very weak, right? Very weak trend line. Very weak trend line. Look at, so you can see that two touches are three, one, two, and three, right? You can see it's very weak, and they could come right back and boom, they will break it. And once they break it, they will head for this next trend line, right? So when they head for this next trend line, you can see that now we are having price going to move something like this, right? And then probably this time around come right back up again, right back to this point, to this resistance. But I don't see it going that far that easily. But I do see a pump. You can see that is if they come back. So they will move like this. And if they succeed, according to my box, there will be a retest of this point. Now, they could extend this pullback, they could extend it to this point. Because remember, I said this area is the area of support. So once they enter this area, what chances are that they will keep going onto this point, or either they bounce at the top depending on the demand, depending on the money force lying here. Remember, it is about supply and demand, depending on how many buyers have their orders placed in this zone, right? So no, you can see the last time it took them a long time for that order to get filled up. A lot of people have to overtime. The order was able to build enough money for us to move the price back up. So right here, we could have price going like this, depending on the money force in this area. Demand. What are the demand? Now, nobody can tell you the exact money force that is going to lay in the future. You don't know who is going to wake up tomorrow morning. Elon Musk can decide that he wants to buy this coin and put $1 billion and the price will change, right? And one thing you must know is that supply and demand is king. Volume is king, right? You've been hearing that from price action traders that volume is king. What is volume? Supply and demand. The rate at which money enters and leaves the market, right? Money entering the market is demand. How many people want to buy the coin, right? Money leaving the market is supply. How many people want to sell the coin, right? So what we are seeing that it has not yet entered the major supply and demand zone, but it is hanging above it, right? This is all around this. You can see all here is around it, but it is not inside it. So chances are high it's going to dip a little, then take a dive to the upside. How much dip is going to happen will depend on the supply, but I don't think it's a bad idea that once price get to this point, for me to add little by little in percentage in and buy little by little as it goes, depending on where it turns. So if it turns at the top, that's how I do my trading. I go in percentage, I pyramid my trade, right? So depending on how far I know how much I want to buy, and I split it into different percent and I go in little by little. That is the best way to enter this coin. And make sure you always use protection. I always talk about stop loss. Now a lot of people see me talk about stop loss, they take it for granted. But this is crypto, volatility is high. No matter your prediction, don't forget that market can change at any minute because you don't know when supply and demand is going to change. It could be the next minute candle. This is why protection saves you. It happens all the time and it can happen again. Don't take the market for granted. If you take anything for granted, even if you take my analysis for granted, don't take your stop loss for granted. Always make sure you implement it. It doesn't matter whether you are on any exchange. A lot of people tell me there's no stop loss in sport. Please set it manually. It's nothing like just using stop limit order to set your sell ahead of time, right? It won't peak until price drops as low as that point, right? If you want to learn more on how to use stop loss, how to trade, come, I'm going to teach you. And you are actually going to trade with me live. You are going to trade with me live for the rest of my life using this analysis. Using this strategy. I developed a group of traders, an academy actually, a registered academy where we train you on how to trade Bitcoin. And not just that, after training you, I'll train you 3 months intensive training, and then you trade with me for life. You get access to all the books I've been reading free, and you get access to attend the class all the time. I remain Bitcoin Gorilla. If you want to know more about Makaveli traders, I'll leave the link in the link below. If you like this analysis and my style, give me a thumbs up. Don't worry, nobody's seeing it, but it's a way of you showing me love. I appreciate it. Thanks in advance. Happy trading and bye.